Hello world, welcome back to the Razor RC. We're back here with another fun little shootout. We're doing the 1/8 scale electric 4-wheel drive 6S capable truggy shootout. And we've got three of the biggest brands. Over here on the left, we've got the Traxxas Sledge. In the middle, we've got the brand new Arrma Kraton 6S EXB V2. And then over here on the right, we got the Team Corally Kagama. So I think these represent pretty much the three biggest brands within this class, and we're going to be doing a comparison and ranking them in 6 different categories: the electronics, the design, the performance, durability, support and maintenance, and finally the value, and ranking them from first to third. And then we're going to tally up all the points. So first place in the category gives you 3 points, second place gives you 2 points, and third place will give you 1 point. We'll figure out which is the best 1/8 scale truggy. If you want to check it out, we've got individual videos on all these RC cars, so you can look at them in depth. But today we're doing a little bit more of just a little shootout. So yeah, enjoy the video. Electronics is the first category, and among the three of them, I would say the Sledge actually has the worst electronics. It's the slowest for sure. The ESC motor combination does not generate as much power as the Kagama or the Kraton. Servo is also horribly slow, very slow servo. It's got decent torque, but yeah, it just doesn't quite have the performance in the electronics category. The TKI radio out of the box, not that great. It does have ADC, but really only $2 to make adjustments. Although if you get the Traxxas link, it actually is pretty good. Between the Kagama and the Kraton, I think it's a very close category. The Kagama's got way faster electronics. ESC motor combination is really good, fastest by far. But the Kraton has a better radio receiver. It's got the DSMR protocol, which you can bind up to any other Spectrum radio. Servo is best in class as well. I think the Kagama's got a little bit of a weak servo. It does tend to fail at higher than average rate, in my opinion. So servo is a little below average. So it's really a toss-up. Are you going more with the motor ESC power combination, or are you going with the radio receiver and servo? But I think most people would probably say the motor and ESC is the most important. So in that respect, I'm going to go with the Kagama with the best electronics, with the Kraton in second place. Design is not something a lot of people think about, but I do think it's actually pretty important. It's one of my most important categories. The Sledge, I think, has some weaknesses within the design. The battery compartment really just doesn't hold any larger size batteries. You kind of have to run Traxxas 6S packs or really small soft packs. Also not a fan of the way the motor mounts into the chassis, kind of nitro style, where you got 4 screws that hold it in place, but it doesn't really hold the mesh very well without some sort of insert, and they only provide 1 insert, so hard to adjust the mesh on that thing. Also, I think you're the most limited within motor combinations. The motor's all the way in the front. Not a lot of room for anything else. Other than that, yeah, the Sledge, in my opinion, ranks third within the three of these. I'm not as big of a fan of the design of the vehicle. Now, I will say the body mount system, I think, is pretty awesome. Certainly innovative, and makes it easy to get the body on and off. It does fall off once in a while, but for the most part, I think it's a really good design. But that's kind of the only thing I would say is kind of great about the Sledge design. Between the Kraton and the Kagama, I think they're quite similar. The Kagama, I think, has a little bit more bracing stuff all the way around the vehicle, a little bit harder to work on. Not as big of a fan of the battery strap system as well, or the battery tray rather. There's only 2 straps. They just got a little insert to add or remove if you want to run bigger batteries. And then tires are not vented, but really the Kraton's got the machined aluminum stiff housings, which I think is amazing. It's got the most adjustments as well. It's got the most shock mounting locations, the most camber link mounting locations. It's got the most sway bar options. It's really closer to its heritage as a race vehicle than I would say the Kagama is. The Kagama, they went more basher oriented, whereas the Kraton, you know, they even have tunable pistons. I'm not sure if the old pistons work with these new machine ones, but even the machine pistons, super nice emulsion wider bleeder screws on the cab. So really, even though it's a basher, in some ways they made it a little bit more race oriented than in the past. Yeah, so overall in the design category, I do like the Kraton a little bit better, easier to work on as well. Just a really good design in my opinion. kind of the standard, I think. Kagama, a little bit more basher oriented and a little bit harder to work on. So in the design category, I'm going to go with the Kraton EXB. Performance-wise, like I mentioned in the electronics section, the Sledge has the slowest electronics. There's no adjustability. Servo's horribly slow, doesn't steer as well. I think the tires are also the worst among the three of them. So in the performance category, I would say the Sledge is the worst. It does need a little more shock tuning, I think, than the other two. Not a big deal, but it does affect the performance a little bit. Between the Kraton and the Kagama, I think everyone would agree that Kagama's got the best electronics. They are the fastest, most powerful, just insane amount of power. Honestly, too fast for most people, I would say. This thing on 4S, I would say, is equivalent to like most people on 6S. So sorry to pull that thing off the fence there. Yeah, but the Corally is super fast. I mean, even on this size park, there's not enough room to really drive this thing at max power. It just runs out of space super fast. So that is going to be something you want a little more space to run. The Kraton's got pretty good electronics. I really like the servo. I think it's best in class. It kind of sets a new standard for what you can do with a RTR servo. The electronics are greatly improved over the V1 Spectrum, so the V2, you know, black Spectrum electronics, ESC motor combination, really good. I do like the radio, handles quite well, but yeah, within the performance category, I'm gonna go with the Kagama. The Sledge, I would say, is probably the least durable of the three out of the box. The chassis, I've bent a couple of those, even just from landing things cleanly. I did land on that post over there, that fence over there, so that's not the Sledge's fault, but it did break, and that was a little bit surprising, just even under normal landings. Also, the motor mesh tends to move around a bit if you gear it up. It does have a fixed position, but you really need to gear that up. And then finally, the diffs, I think, are made of the weakest metals. I've broken diffs on those. They do make machined upgraded diffs, but the other two, the Kraton and the Kagama, I don't think you need to upgrade the diffs out of the box. So I do think the Sledge is the weakest out of the box. Now, if you upgrade the chassis, get some sort of motor mount or inserts for the motor plate, then I think it's fine. So that really just leaves the Kagama and the Kraton, and this one's going to be a very close category as well. The Kagama, I think, is quite durable. The Kraton, I think, is quite durable, but the Kraton, I've broken things just doing normal landing, so that's kind of the part that was a little bit disappointing. I did bend the drive shaft and brake and outdrive. Not really sure why, because those are under like normal landing, so that wasn't anything where it was a bad crash or anything like that. The Kagama, so far, you know, I've been landing it pretty clean, so no issues there. Even doing these huge jumps, it seems totally fine. Double backflips, 20-foot high jumps, it's totally fine as long as you land it. Now, I'm sure if you land upside down or land on an arm or something bad, then it's going to potentially break something. But for me, the Kagama's held up. Really, the only thing I found to be a weakness is that this wing tends to bend and crack and fall down and stuff. So that is one thing I would say you might want to consider changing the wing when it breaks. And then the servo, I've had several of these servos fail in the past, so this one has not yet so far, but that is something to keep an eye out. You may need a servo at some point in the future. But yeah, in the durability category, I would say the Kagama is the best. When it comes to parts availability, Traxxas is the king, at least here in the US. There's parts available everywhere within pretty much every hobby shop. Also, their customer service is really good. If you just call them up, they're always available 7 days a week. Someone answers the phone right away, so no issues there. Warranty not the greatest at 30 days. They pretty much will not send you plastic parts or anything really if you break the car, unless it was a manufacturing defect right out of the box. So a little bit different than some of the other brands, but yeah, within support and maintenance, I think Traxxas is king. Arrma, I would say, is second place. They also have pretty good part support within the US. Lots of hobby shops will carry it because it is a major brand. Their warranty is also the best at 2 months, or 2 years, excuse me. And so they're probably the most generous warranty policy as well. I think people actually abuse them for what they are able to get out of them for things that aren't really manufacturing defects. But yeah, within support and maintenance, I think those are the top two. Team Corally is definitely a smaller brand here in the US. Not as many hobby shops are going to carry parts. Really, they're carried by HRP, so that's where you're going to have to buy most of your parts. So yeah, they would rank third within the support and maintenance category. The Sledge and the crane sell for $700 here in the US. I think prices will certainly vary depending on where you live within the world. The Kagama is $619, so about $80 cheaper, obviously. The Sledge, I think, is the least or the worst in the value category. Nothing really special about the components you get with it. It is made in Taiwan, which I will say is nice, but you know, the metals seem a little bit subpar in my opinion. Everything's pretty much plastic, including the links and stuff. And it's the most expensive, or at least tied with the crane, but whereas the crane's got machined diff housings, the EXB differentials, it's got the 7075 parts, of course, and then the aluminum center braces. So just all around, I think a really good value. And it's got the nice electronics as well compared to the Traxxas, in my opinion. Not sure what I'm doing there. Between the Kagama and the crane, I would say the Kagama, even though it's cheaper, it does have some nice parts. The spring steel outdrives. It's got the aluminum differentials. Pretty nice overall. The better electronics, but for, you know, that $80 price difference, what you get on the crane is pretty impressive. The machined pistons, the really nice aluminum shocks with the aluminum caps and the bleeder screws, adjustable turnbuckles. I think within the value category, the 7075 shock towers and chassis as well. I think you got to give the value category to the crane, even though it's $80 or more. I think you get all that plus a little bit more extra within what you're paying for the vehicle. So there's a quick look at the 6 different categories and how I would rank all 3 of these. And once you tally the scores, we're going to give 3 points to first in the category, 2 points for second, and 1 point for third. You end up with the Traxxas Sledge in third place with 8 points. I think that makes sense because it really didn't win any categories. Placed last in quite a few as well. The only area where I felt it was best was the support and maintenance, because the Traxxas parts are the most widely available. Certainly if you break a part, it is easier to get parts at your local hobby shop. So that makes it nice for those, you know, who need good part support. But that really leaves the Kagama and the crane at 14 points apiece. So they actually tied among all the categories. The crane actually won in the design and the value category, and the Kagama won in the electronics, the performance and the durability category. But I think all 5 of those categories you could pretty much go either way. And certainly if someone argued with me that the crane was more durable or had better electronics, or the Kagama had the better design, or, you know, the value was better because it was $80 cheaper, I wouldn't really be able to argue with them. But at 14 points apiece, they did actually end up tying. So I think it's just going to come down to which you value the most. If you're more into the tunability, the adjustments that you can make within the design, a little bit bigger motor spacing for larger motors, and maybe you want to go with the crane. If you want the speed, certainly if you're doing drag racing, I would go with the Kagama. The durability, I think the durability is really close. I just did have a few more things break on the crane than I did with the Kagama. So that's an area that, you know, maybe the Kagama is a little bit better. But yeah, between the 2 of them, I think either one is a great choice. You know, certainly parts support is going to be better with the Arrma. The Kagama, I think, is just a great all-around vehicle, but a little bit harder to get parts. So I don't know, pick either one. I think they're both great trucks. I don't think you have a problem with either of them. I think they're both good values as well. At $619, I know it's kind of a lot of money, but for a really good 6S capable, really durable, and very fast vehicle, the Kagama is excellent. And at, you know, $80 or more, the crane does come with some really nice choice bits. The aluminum differentials. By the way, did you notice how loud the crane is? Yeah, it's all due to that differential housing. But yeah, the parts on the crane are really nice, and certainly you get all that value as well. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. That was a little shootout between the top 1/8 scale truggies you can get on the market today. Hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe buttons. Look for more videos soon. Thanks for watching.